inequality, we know, is at historical highs. It is by now well known, according to recent articles and studies, that income inequality has increased in the United States. The top 10% of earners took more than one-half of the country's overall income in 2012. And this, the record keepers say, is the highest proportion recorded in the century of government record keeping. So yes, we are in a period of income inequality. Indeed, I just want to share something with you. Again, looking at some of the widely reported statistics and data and sharing some of that with you. What we're seeing is that the top 1% is taking now almost a quarter of the nation's income. That's a fact that we see in the statistics, and that 10% takes well over 50%. The interesting thing about this, again, is that when you look at the data, when you see going into the 20s and into the 30s, that's the last time we had that kind of income inequality. But this is where we are today. So in the request to look at it, yes, it does exist, and many feel it. What we're seeing, of course, is that because of change to the structure of society, one article is entitled, and I decided to go with that title, Rich Get Richer Through the Recovery. And recovery also includes a restructuring of how we do business, a restructuring of the economy. We know that this is something that has been occurring for some decades, but it has been accelerating in recent times. Indeed, because of globalization, because of technological changes. I don't know about you, but as I told my husband, I went to take my car to be washed the other day. And usually I get out, go into the waiting room, they wash the car, catch up, my emails, read a little bit about what's going on in my town. That day, they said, no, lady, just stay in the car. And no one came to vacuum it. There was no job for that person. They told me to just sit in the car, and the car light went through the washer. And I said, well, I know this is by some definition efficient. It's different from the culture with which I grew up, and there are some people who are rapidly losing jobs. It's just a restructuring of how we do business. And as part of that, returns to capital are higher relative to what they have been to labor. And so the article that I looked at shows the rich get richer through the recovery. And that through the recession, which we all felt, indeed around the world, incomes have begun to pick up a bit. They've begun to pick up. We've seen some decreases in unemployment. We've seen some overall GNP increases, certainly. But the incomes for what some researchers and commentators and popularly call the 99% have stagnated during that slow recovery. That's just a restructuring of society. So the question is how to handle it. That's a policy issue. I won't talk about that so much right now. I'll talk about the status of the economy in that regard. Incomes for what we call now the lower 99% did start to grow a bit in 2012. So we've seen some growth at about a 1% growth rate overall. But in terms of the income inequality that I was asked to address today, the total income of the top 1% surged nearly 20%. And now we're talking not only about the 99% that we heard in popular culture and in economic statements, but we're talking about the super rich accelerating a difference between the simply rich. The millionaires are being left behind, shall we say.